am delighted that so many people are joining us today. This is one of the hottest topics and callings that we've had. We had more than 800 people sign up for today's webinar, and it's the middle of the summer when everybody should be taking vacations. So that's a sign that we have really hit a nerve of something that people want. I'm Laura Wigglesworth from Callings, and joining me today is Brian Hilliard, author of Networking Like a Pro and a professional trainer and speaker on networking, particularly for entrepreneurs.
Yep.
Brian has spent years, and I'm going to say without revealing his age, decades, helping
Yep.
people build relationships. And those relationships lead to sales and careers opportunities. So despite everything that's changed in job hunting, the rise of AI, LinkedIn,
Yep.
online job boards, the importance of relationships and networking hasn't. Someone you know will tell someone about a job opening, introduce you to the right person, or remember you when a new challenge comes along.
Right.
So technology, even though Callings is a technology platform, it will make it easier for you to find people. It will help you figure out what to say, maybe in an email to somebody. It's not going to replace the trust between people. And that's why we supplement the tech tools at Callings with these kinds of webinars that help teach people how to broaden, build new relationships. So in addition to helping you find out about job opportunities, networking, building new relationships is an antidote to isolation.
Right.
So many people spend day after day alone in front of a computer or in front of their smartphone. They send applications into, and we get this a lot, we hear people say it feels like a black hole.
Right.
Networking will get us back into conversations, and conversations remind us that we're part of a community. So if right now the word networking is making you think about walking into a room full of strangers with some sort of elevator pitch, I'm going to tell you right now that Brian's going to help you think about it differently.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't mean you have to memorize the perfect introduction or a clever script. It's really at the heart of it. For those of you who joined us, maybe it was about a month ago for Lou Adler's webinar, Lou Adler is all about curiosity. And that's what Brian's going to talk about today. Walking in with a curious mind, learning, identifying problems that people are facing with their work, that's what's going to help uncover opportunities. And it's going to help you build trust and develop relationships that grow over time. So Brian, in our first call, Brian said something to me, and then maybe I read this in the book before I contacted Brian. Brian likes to say that networking is not hunting, it's farming. And so I thought about that metaphor that you're not going to events, going to conferences, attending webinars with a spear, trying to come out of it with a fish or with 5 fish. You are planting seeds that will germinate. Through your curiosity, you'll build new relationships, and those relationships will uncover opportunities. So before I get into the Q&A that Brian came up with for our webinar today, I wanted to give him a minute to introduce himself. And I'm going to paste in the chat the name of his book and a deal that he's giving people who are attending today, who are entrepreneurs and want to spend a little bit of time with him in addition to getting the book. But Brian, while I do that, I'd love for you to introduce yourself to the audience.
Awesome. Well, my name is Brian Hilliard. I really, really appreciate it. You might have seen me scooching inside. I had to make sure. It occurred to me that I'm down here in Fayetteville and I'm outside, and it just occurred to me that the sun was going to overheat my phone. That was going to be a problem. So I'm back in the shade and I'm feeling good. We're going to talk a little bit about networking. We're going to talk about what you can do to be successful. I started my business in 2001. I started when a lot of people were not, networking or knowing that before the internet, really, like before social media. And networking was like the main way of doing business. So what we're going to talk about are some tried and true techniques and processes, quite frankly, that I've done, things that I've talked about, things I've taught. I've written 8 books. Laura mentioned a couple of them, The Networking Like a Pro, and things like that. So I feel like I have some game as it relates to developing a process and becoming intentional about that. And I'm super, super happy that you guys are spending some time with us here. And I'm super happy that the Callings folks allowed us to be able to do this. So thanks, Laura. Appreciate it.
Brian, thank you. It's a little bit hard to hear you sometimes. So maybe, I don't know if
Oh, is it?
yeah, you can turn up
Okay.
the volume or something on that. But
No, hang on
um,
for a second. I can handle that. Go ahead. Go ahead.
okay. Well, so one of the things I want you to talk about to open up is about this notion that we've got so many AI tools available to job seekers. So why do relationships even matter anymore? We've become so scientific in the way that we hire people. Oh, Brian froze on me. I guess while Brian gets back online, I'm just going to ad lib. Oh,
There
now
we
we
go.
can
I'm back.
we
I'm
can
back.
house.
I went off
Okay,
of
so
Wi-Fi.
my question, Brian, was
Yeah.
was that we've got with all the tools that we have, all the AI tools,
Yeah.
why do relationships still matter?
Okay. So first of all, let me just do a quick sound check because of course the first half hour was fine. Can you hear me okay now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, great. So your question was, with all the AI tools that we have available, why is it that we need to be doing networking? Was that what your
Yeah,
question was? Okay.
yeah,
So it kind of gets back to the point that you made at the top, where you talked a little bit about relationships never go away, right? Like we always are going to have a conversation about relationships and what it is that you can do to be successful. And the reason I know that is because people still do things and work with and hire people that they know, like, and trust, right? Like if I'm inclined to, let's just say, a personal injury attorney, right? Because you have those on the compute on the highways, and you see those things all the time. If
yeah.
I were to see XYZ law firm 28 times on my way northbound on 95, or have somebody tell me, hey, you know what, Brian, you need to hire this person because I know them or I've worked with them or I asked them about it, it's the relationship.
Really good point.
It always comes down to the relationship. So one of the things, AI, will that help us? Absolutely. Will it facilitate and move us forward faster than we can? No question about that. Is it a substitute for relationships? No. Why?
Yeah,
Because that's the human condition. We actually are striving for a level of continuity and community and connection to enable
yeah.
people to be able to feel like we know them, they know us, and that's how we move forward.
Excellent. Yeah. Yeah, and those relationships can often become job opportunities that will
Right.
never get posted. So
Right. That's exactly
it's
right.
great to use Callings tools to find jobs, but it's not all jobs are not there because a lot of things are never posted. Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Okay, I want to talk a little bit about before we talk about the how to, let's talk about what some job seekers might get wrong about networking. I
Sure.
know one of the things you and I talked about was asking for a job too quickly,
Yeah.
or thinking about it as I need to perfect my sales pitch. But
Right.
help me understand a little more about what job seekers might get wrong about networking, and then we can sort of dispel some of those myths.
Yeah. Yeah. I prefer to think of them definitely dispelling some myths. And I like to think in terms of adjustments. What are some adjustments that we can do that
Okay.
perhaps aren't being as successful as we'd like?
Yeah.
Okay. And one of the adjustments is going in there with this idea that we're going to network to get a job.
Yeah.
All right. This is not, and that's part of the problem out west. Okay. We have a very left brain, analytical, X plus Y equals Z kind of approach to a lot of things. And in networking, it's not like that. You know what I mean? So when I go out and network, what I'm thinking is I'm going to go out and I'm going to meet some good people.
Hmm.
I'm going to go out. I'm going to meet some good people. I'm going to play my game, and I'm going to meet some good people. One of the things that I talk about a lot is this notion of showing up as your authentic self.
Yeah.
Okay, like I think a lot of times we have a tendency to think to ourselves, oh well, I don't want to be authentic. I want to be this. I want to be that. I'm in the process right now. I've talked about this with other people. I'm in the process of right now of figuring out who I want to spend more time with, just on a personal basis. We're talking about dating. And one of the things that I thought I needed to do was, oh, I need to show up as this like I don't know, Brian
Cool
3.0
dude.
or something like that. I don't know.
Brian
I don't, I
2.0.
don't even know what I thought. That's the funny thing. But like, it turns out that's not the case, right? Like, if you want, and the same thing is true in networking in a job seeking manner, right? You don't need to show up as, if you're not this super work the room, schmooze, hand out cards, like, you don't have to show up like that. And I think one of the myths is we think we have to. Okay, no,
Yes.
show up as your authentic self. And
Yeah.
then the second thing that kind of dovetails off of that is this notion that once we are there, let's go out and meet some people and talk. Is this a contest of just trying to get out this networking introduction or this pitch? It's not. Okay,
Yeah.
it's not a skills competition, right?
Yeah.
Like, what we're trying to do is we're trying to meet people. Yes, people are going to ask you what you do. If you go to a conference, if you're at a business event, someone's going to ask you what you do. So yes, you're going to want to have a level of preparation behind that. But it's not this idea of, oh, well, I need to go out and, get this shot up and get it as quick as I can because that's going to help me get the deal.
Yeah.
It needs to be, I'm here to think. It needs to be, I'm here to engage and connect with these people, and then from there, let's see what happens.
Yeah. Great. I want to come back to that point, and I have audience and a question for the audience about
Sure.
how do you describe how do you answer the question, what do you do? But I want to do that in the next part because I want to focus one more thing that you mentioned to me when we were preparing for this webinar about what people get wrong. I remember you said there is such an obsession with metrics, with
Yep.
counting, with
Yep.
okay, I'm successful if I come
Right.
out with 5 business cards, if I come out with
Right.
business deals, if I
Right.
and you said just don't do that. You also said
Right.
show up in person. I know you talked about, we're going to talk more about that, but you
Yeah.
said just go in there with curiosity and an open mind
Yep.
and meet people,
Yep.
not an agenda. So
Right.
maybe this takes
Right.
a little bit. People feel pressure. They feel like
Right.
the people on this call today, they need a job
Yeah.
and they worry. And so
Yeah.
if they spend 2 hours, or God forbid, they have paid $500 to go to something, they worry
Right.
that they're going to come out and say, okay, what's my return on investment? I don't have
Right.
16 business cards and I don't have two deals
Right.
or two job
Right.
offers.
Right.
So Brian, how, maybe this is a follow-up question for you.
No, it's fine.
What can those people do to ease that anxiety and to go in there, like you say, just with
Right.
curiosity and a desire to learn and meet people? How do you make that shift mentally?
So it's hard. I'll do a quick story and then I'll get into the answer for me at least. So I started my business in '01. Over the last 25 years or so, there have been at least 4 separate occasions when I've had 20 or less dollars in my checking account. Okay. When I say 20 or less, I don't mean that a check is coming and I just happen to have 20 in at this point in time. I mean 20 or less in my checking account, 4 separate occasions. First one was December 2003. Now, part of the issue was being able to understand how is it that I can build my business and be able to still be successful when, yes, I need to be able to, in this case, get a job or get business or secure a client or whatever the case may be. Okay. And I think part of it too, there's a couple things here. I'm personally a spiritual person. I'm a man of faith. I leaned into my faith a lot. I'm not saying you have to. I'm telling you what I did. That was the first thing. The second thing is being able to have confidence in the process. And this will happen too. I talk about sports a lot, basketball specifically. You have to be, I heard this said on a show one time. They were talking about Chauncey Billups. It was like the 98 Pistons, Detroit. And he wound up hitting the game-winning shot. And this is what Bill Walton says. He says, you have to be very good to go 1 for 11 and hit the game-winning shot. 1 for 11. First of all, what are you doing taking the game-winning shot? You spent the better part of the evening missing shots. Why are you taking this game-winning shot?
Yeah.
All right. And then not only that, but for the last 2.5 hours, you've missed 10 shots.
Right.
And then you hit this one? You got to be crazy.
Yeah.
What that means, and this gets back to the point, what that means is you got to really have a conversation about the process.
Yeah.
Just because you're not making shots doesn't mean that you don't all of a sudden know how to shoot. And that's
Right.
what I had to do. You talked about getting back to there's a level of anxiety. I had to have trust in myself. I'm a
Mhm.
good guy, talking about networking. I'm a
Mhm.
good guy. People like me. I'm going to go out and I'm going to play my game. What I
Mhm.
did sometimes was I had the wrong mindset. We can talk
Mhm.
about that if you want. What I also did sometimes was I did, what's the word, escalate a little too quickly. We can talk about that if you want. But the idea is once I took a look at what was working, what was not, and I looked at it as not, and here's the other thing, maybe this is point number three. You cannot look at networking as a referendum as to your overall self worth to society. Same thing is
Ah,
true with having a job too, by the way. There's a financial
right.
component to it, but and I understand that, but this cannot turn into a referendum about like
Right.
your own personal self-worth or how you feel about stuff, because that's a killer. Okay. But if we put that off to the side and we say, listen, I'm going to go out and play my game. I'm going to meet some people. I'm going to talk to some folks. I'm a likable person, generally speaking. I'm going to collect some cards. I'm going to follow up. I'm going to follow the process. I'm going to
Mhm.
follow the process. Okay. And sometimes the ball doesn't go in the basket. That's just the way the league works. Okay.
Yep.
But other times it will. And when you do get that in combination with other things, that's when things usually pop.
Yep. That's great. I see Halcyon said, please, thank you, perfect, decoupling networking from identity. Yeah.
Oh,
You say trust the process. I was counseling my daughter last week. Easy for me to say, up in Maine, she did an Ironman. And the
mm,
night before, she was just at her wit's end and not able to sleep and worried. And I
mm,
just said, you have to trust your training. You
yeah.
worked for this for so long.
Hmm.
And so
Hmm.
maybe when it comes to job hunting and networking, people just have to trust that the networking will pay off, but they
Yeah.
can't walk into it thinking it's only a success if, and then fill in that blank.
Right.
If they
Right.
collect
If you,
5 business cards or whatever.
right. Right. If it's a binary Western style approach, that's
Yeah.
like gripping the club too hard. You will miss the ball. Okay.
Yeah.
However, and now I'll tell you this, I just thought about this, so this might help. One of the things I've been doing recently for my speaking is I actually do a routine. I used to not listen to any music before I got on speaking stage. And then I found out that I could listen to some music. And I'll tell you, it was funny because as you guys can tell, I'm black, right? So I thought to myself, I had this headset on, right? And I'm like, I had these headsets on when I was in the hotel room. And I'm listening to this music and I'm getting ready to go down to the hotel, to the conference. And I'm like, oh, I should take these off. And then I realized, hold on, I kind of feel like LeBron James. I'm not 6'7", but I am a 6 foot grown black man. I don't think anybody's going to say anything to take it off. I didn't take it off. I went into the elevator. Music is blaring. People are in it's blaring. I'm just going like this,
Did
right?
they
No one
dance
said
with
a
you?
no,
No.
no, no, no. No one said a word. No one
Yeah.
said a word. Okay, I go down. I'm still bopping to the thing the whole time. I take the headsets off for a second, talk to the lady at the registration desk, put them back on for the next 30 minutes. I wound up doing the best presentation I did. That was last year.
Huh.
Okay. The reason I bring that up, a little bit of a kind of a aside, making fun of myself, but the reason I bring that up is because get into some type of routine.
Uh-huh.
Whether that is psyching yourself up with music, I have a playlist. Whether
Yeah.
that's psyching yourself up with music, whether that's, doing what it's probably not is having a conversation with your kids 10 minutes before, not like for nothing, but probably not that. It's probably not, oh, let me check my checking account real quick. It's probably not doing any banking
Right.
before. Like, it's just let me listen to some music. Let me sit by myself. Let me, I don't know, do whatever. Now, I'm not saying you got to have earphones on in the elevator. I've been doing that ever since. No one said
Right.
a word. But it's being able to get into that flow that enables you. I have found that when I have something that is putting me in the right frame of mind, I'm no longer fighting against the wrong frame of mind because
Mhm.
the right frame of mind is right here. So that might be
Yeah.
something to consider too.
Okay. When you were talking a few minutes ago about process, we had a question from Scott Thompson here who said, well, what does that process look like? So I want to hear you. I would say it's a variety. You and I talked, Brian, in our prep call about the importance of scheduled things that are professional, like a
Yep.
conference. And then
Yep.
you said unscheduled or things that are not professional, like
Right.
recreational. You said pickleball. Um,
Right.
so a variety of things like that. And I would say
Right.
to Scott too, I'm going to show you tools in Callings that can help you find events that are
Yep.
free
Yep.
conferences to go to,
Yep.
both
Yep.
related to career and related to your industry. Just
Right.
so I'm going to show you a variety of things to find. Brian is all about showing up, by the way. He's not
Yep.
a guy who wants you to spend more time online, but I will show you some
No.
networking things to go to, like
Yeah.
webinars online too. Anyway, Brian, what's your answer to that, to Scott's question
Okay.
about what does this process look like for
So
networking?
what's my process? All right. So after I've gone on callings and I found out the places to go. So that's we'll call that patient zero. That's the baseline. Okay. Now I'm going to an event. Let's say, because let's set the whole thing up. Let's say it's a conference, or let's say it's an association, a chapter meeting, like a luncheon or something like that. Just setting the stage. All right. So my first thing is I'm making sure even before I go, I'm doing my prep work, like I just mentioned. I'm getting in the right frame of mind. I'm making sure I show up 20 minutes early. How about that? Okay.
Ah, why
Right?
is that good?
Because I don't want to be rushing in traffic. I don't want to be rushed. I don't know what I'm talking about. I said 20. I'd probably show up 30 minutes early. I would
It's
be in
easier
the
to
parking.
start conversations when you're early than when you walk into a room with 1,000 people. Yeah.
I agree with that, but I was actually saying I'm in my car in the parking lot 30 minutes
Yeah.
early. Okay. I'm listening to my music. I'm getting myself in the right frame of mind.
Uh-huh.
So that's step one, showing up early physically at the parking lot, right frame of mind. Okay. Step two, now I'm going in. I register about 15 minutes early if it's me. Okay. Because then you're not catching everybody completely off guard. And to your point, Laura, it's easier to go when you have that, you meet one or two people right off the bat. So
Yeah.
I'm going to register like 10, 15, probably 15 minutes early. Okay, number three, I'm making a beeline. If I'm early, I'm making a beeline to some of the early bird people there. I'll say something along the lines of, hey, is this, I mean, we're talking about icebreakers now, but it's like, hey, is this something, have you been here before? Is this an area have you come? You usually get a lot of people? Some type of explanation, exploratory baseline answer question. Now, let me stop here at number three for a second, because some people are thinking, well, that's like on par with like a pickup line, Brian. That's cheesy. Okay, so let me make a distinction here so we're all clear. We're all here for the same thing.
Yeah.
Everybody in the room is there for the same thing. Now, if the question was, would you use that at a bar? No. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about a
Right.
professional networking event. Would I use
Right.
that at the Walmart line? No, because we're not talking about that. We're talking
Uh-huh.
about a professional networking event. Okay, so it's important that we make that distinction. All right, so I'm just getting contact. I'm just trying to get some contact so I can do some stuff. All right, fourth thing then is I might rinse and repeat. So after I've talked to this person for a few minutes, then I'm going to the next, then I'm going to the next. Now, that's number four. After that, and this is the point, Laura, you brought up in that article you sent over, then I might go to the snack bar. Like if there's a little snack area, I might do that, hang out by the line, right? See what that's all about. That way I can kind of bump into some people there. That's number five. If there is none and we just have to go sit down at our tables, that's fine, because now I got two or three people that I can meet at the table. What I might do, depending on so five is sitting at the table. Six, what I might do is I might even go around and introduce myself to some of the people at the table real quick. Hey, Brian. Hey, I'm Brian. Hey, good to meet you. What's your name? Just real quick, just to be able to, do that. You don't have to, but that's my six. Okay. And then my seven is, let's say that the thing is done. And let's say they have a speaker. So this is a bonus one. Let's say they have a speaker. Then what I'll also do is I'll introduce myself to the speaker, because they are great. If you know who the speaker is beforehand and you can introduce yourself to her beforehand, that's even better. But after is also fine, because they're usually a good person as well. That's seven. And then my last one is simply to be like, all right, when I'm done, I'm wrapping up with some people. Maybe I talk to some more people at the table across from me who I haven't gotten, in contact with or something like that. Maybe nine, I said eight was last, but maybe nine, I go talk to the event organizer. Okay, so you talk about the process, right? I'm thinking of a 10, but I can't get to 10, so I only got nine for you. But like the process
Okay, how
is,
about 10 is tell people to put their phones down. Go into
okay,
these
10,
events
yeah,
without their phone. Don't do
yeah,
this. Nobody will
yeah.
approach you, and you're not going to
Yeah,
approach people.
yeah, yeah. You
Yeah.
have to have, sometimes I see kids these days, and you see them go out to eat, right? And you see them like, I guess they're
With
going on a
each
date.
other.
I don't know. There's a
Yeah.
boy and a girl. It's one table,
Yeah.
and they're
Yeah.
like sitting there like this, and I'm like,
Do you
I don't
think
say
they're on a
anything.
Zoom call together?
right, maybe. Because what I'm thinking to myself is, you guys, if you get married, you're actually going to have to talk. Some of
Yeah.
the kids, I don't know if they know that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyway, you want to put your phone down for a second. You want to engage these people. And like I said, you asked about, it was Philip, I think, right? Was that the person who asked it? I think it was Philip. You want to be able to play your game. That's what I mean when I say play your game. You want to be able to engage in a set of rules that enables you to be able to do some of the things, and then you just keep repeating. And that is what my mom would call a life lesson. That's independent of the result because you're confident in the process. Those 9 or 10 steps should work. You just have to find and continually getting into those situations.
And in more and more situations. I'm going to poll the audience here, but I'm also going to take a look at the questions and see if there's some things we should address.
Okay.
My question for the audience is around knowing how to describe your values. So when you walk up to people at events, instead of I'm looking for a job, you might say, in my case, I help growing health technology companies hire great people, something like that. So it's a verb on what do you do? And so we're getting away from the I'm unemployed. So
Right.
here's some, so write in the chat and I'll read some of these out loud. How you answer the question when you're networking of what do you do in terms of the value that you have. And now I'm going to take a glance at some of the questions people have raised in the chat. Brian, if you see any
Okay.
you want to address, please do. I
Oh,
have
yeah.
more for you, but we'll see what we have time for.
Okay.
Yeah, somebody agrees with you that I'm guessing it's a she, has more luck, likes to listen to music before connecting with others. That's
Yeah,
nice.
makes a big difference. Tony Robbins talks about changing your state. Now, he also has a conversation about jumping into a cold plunge. By the way, I was in Mexico for a couple of months, and I just got back last week. I actually did a cold plunge. So I got out of the place. You take a shower, you go into the steam room, and then you get out, and then you have this huge pool that's a
That's
cold
very
plunge.
Danish. Yes.
And oh
Yes.
my God. So I'm going to play ball, right? When in Rome. I jump in. I did an exaggerated upper body hand motion as I'm moving my feet as fast as I can to get across the thing. But let me tell you what, that changed my state. Okay. So being able to have a change of state, again, what Mr. Robbins says is being able to do some of those different things to be successful. Music is a great way to do that.
Yeah, that's great. Manoj, I want to address your question. You said you have found that events in the UAE haven't been that helpful. I'm going to give a demo in about 10 minutes on Callings and how you can use it to identify some online events as well for
Okay.
network. And you said what's the best way to access the hidden job market was also in your question. And
Okay.
for that, I would say that's being a little bit more strategic than just going
Right.
to events, but it would be identifying, and I'll show you tools and callings for this too. What
Okay.
industry do you want to focus on? What are some growing companies within those industries? Who is working in the types of jobs that you want to work in those
Right.
companies?
Right.
And then building relationships with them. And that can help you identify hidden job market, or the hidden job market is all about you being able to address a problem. So once you can uncover the problems, what are the issues and challenges and problems that somebody is dealing with? And then you can come in and say, well, I can solve that problem, right?
Right.
These are for jobs that aren't advertised or that in many cases end up being consulting opportunities.
Right, right. That brings up a really good point about the hidden job market I want to bring up. One of the things that we mentioned in the Networking Like a Pro book, and Laura, you brought this up earlier, was the notion of farming versus hunting. And I think the hidden job market is not something that you get from hunting, it's something that you get from farming. So what I mean by that is when you're going out and building rapport, developing relationships, and playing your game, doing what you need to be doing, and you have a bunch of different seeds proverbially out, in the field, what happens is the market just kind of appears. And when I say appears, it's not like some type of Harry Potter film. It's just you're there, and then I call it a flow state. You're there, and things just kind of appear. You know what I mean? You wind up. I'll give you a perfect example. So I told you I was in Mexico for a couple of months, and I had to order some shoes because the shoes were too small for me over there. And really had to order them because my foot was starting to hurt. It's too narrow. So I ordered one on express delivery that came on Monday, and I ordered another one, regular delivery, that was supposed to come on Tuesday. Except guess what happened? I got the
The
express
Tuesday one
delivery
came
on
sooner.
Monday, and the other one came on Monday as well. You're like, oh, well,
Uh,
that's a coincidence. Okay, but it still was nice, wasn't it? I would also
uh-huh.
still attribute it to a flow state, and now I've got both pairs of shoes. Those kinds of things just kind of happen, and we get into that a little bit, like I said in the book as
In the
well.
book. Yeah, networking long term does pay off. Yeah, I get all of my consulting opportunities through relationships that I've built. I don't do any advertising. Yeah. I want to address Scott's question here. He said, same Scott who wrote before, Scott Thompson, what about following up after the event? And I want to hear you say this, Brian. I would say it was easier in the days when there used to be a printed sheet of everybody
Right,
attending a conference, because then you had it
right,
and you could see, oh, I
right,
didn't have time to talk to this person, but I wish I had.
right,
Nowadays, we don't have that as much, but a lot of
right,
times they'll give you access to an app and you can see who's there. If you don't
right.
have a time to see people, follow up with them afterwards, follow up with
Yep,
the ones that you did meet.
yep,
And it depends on what you want with the
right,
relationship, but if it's
right.
appropriate, you can say, you and I both attended that conference and I would love
Yep,
to pick your brain for
yep,
contacts and ideas.
yep,
Everybody loves to give advice. So you're
yep.
not asking for a job, you're
Right,
building a relationship.
right,
Because if you ask for a job, I'd love to work for your organization, then you
right.
close
That
the
will work.
conversation
Yeah,
rather than start the conversation. But I
right,
tell people time limited, task specific. So when you
right.
follow up, you can say, can I have 15 minutes of your time? Can we schedule a 15-minute call?
Yep,
And then specific, so I can pick your brain for contacts, or so that we
yep,
can further discuss that session we both went to that I thought
yep,
was very meaningful, or something specific like that. And they're much
yep.
more likely to say yes than if you just write them out of the blue. Yeah.
That's exactly right. And I also think that you want to expand the number of people that you had contact with. So if you're trying to, if there are 100 people in the room, the name of the game, the first name of the game is to be able to engage meaningfully as many people of those 100 as you can. Now that
Yeah.
might be 20. That doesn't mean 90. It might be 20. It might be 15. 15 is better than 10. Meaningful engagements. Okay.
Yeah.
So then from that, your meaningful engagement pool becomes your follow-up pool. Okay. And then now what I like to do is write down what I talked about with each person. And I also like to say, hey, listen, I like to say it while I'm there. Hey, listen, I don't know if you're open to this. I'm going to go meet some other people, but it'd be great to be able to talk to you real quick later on to pick your brain about this or to get your advice on that. So they call that the trial close. I like to be able to put that out there in person. Most people, no one's, unless you're a jerk, most people are not going to say no. They'll be like, yeah, that sounds great. So now the
Yeah.
follow-up, back to the point, is, hey, listen, I know during first of all, it's good meeting you at the XYZ event. I know we were talking about this. You mentioned that it was okay to be able to sit down and talk for about 15, 20 minutes about this. Just seeing if that's something that you're still open to. If so, I can give you some dates and times. Notice also what I did. I didn't just include my calendar link. I didn't just say Monday 3, 5. I didn't do any of that. Here's who I am. Here's how we met. Here's what I heard you say. If
Mhm.
that's still okay with you, then let me know and we can shoot over some dates and times. Or if you have a calendar, because some of these people might have calendar links themselves,
Right.
or if you want to send me your calendar link, I can take a look, or whatever the case may be. That should
So
work.
is it a little too aggressive, Brian, to follow up and say we met at that conference and I would love to have a 15-minute follow-up call with you. Here's my calendar. That's a little too
Yes,
aggressive.
that to
Okay.
me, I
Okay.
don't know if that's winning games because
Okay.
I think what happens is people they can be put off by that.
Yeah.
Conversely, like okay, so I had a call. I met a woman over at a conference just now last week that we were on the panel together, and I messaged her. I said, "Hey, it was great talking with you. Nice to meet you." Blah blah blah. I gave her a point about something, and I said, hope you have yourself a fantastic day. That kind of thing. Now, something nice like that, she's going to come back and say, hey, thanks so much, or blah, 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 blah. Then I can come right back and say, you know what? Why don't we
Okay.
do this? Why don't we schedule some time to talk? Or why I'm going to probably invite her to one of my networking meetings because I think she'd be a
Uh-huh.
good person. But the point that I'm making is that there are some different things that I can do. You know what I mean? And just
Yeah.
to that question real quick, what if they don't respond? How do you know when to walk away? Because that's kind of a follow-up. I always do a couple of messages. So
Hmm.
I've met the person once, I
Hmm.
message once, and then I message again like a few days later. And then
Okay.
after that, that's just cost of doing business.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people aren't going to respond online nowadays. Yeah. But some will. Some will. People want to help. That's a good thing to remember is you give people the opportunity to share advice, which is why it's more helpful to ask for advice than it is to ask for a job.
Yes,
Because everybody loves to give advice, even if it's not taken.
that's
Uh,
right.
and name drop. Okay, so I know that you and I talked about you are really a proponent of showing up in person
Yep,
to meet people, to build authentic relationships, to reduce
right,
depression, which and loneliness, which we haven't even gotten into. But
right.
a lot of networking is going to be done online, Brian. It's just a
Yep,
fact of life for the
yep.
person who wrote a few minutes ago and said he's in the UAE and there's not a lot of things to attend in person. So networking happens as much on LinkedIn as in conferences. And so how do people network online without feeling fake, essentially, is what
Yeah.
I'm wondering.
I think it's the same premise. So first of all, when I mean the same premise, what I mean is we're still showing up as our authentic self.
Hmm.
All right, so it's the same premise. Now, we have a different medium, obviously, and we still have the same, I think, objective. So let me unpack that. The premise I've already explained. The
Yeah,
medium, that's self-explanatory. Okay,
yeah.
online, we're going to do a little quicker. We're not stacking, things. We're not combining things. We're sequencing better. Like the point I just made. Hey, it was nice to meet you. And give some thoughts. Wait for her to come back. In this case, then you go back like that. Versus sending out this huge, let's meet. Great job, stacking all at once. Okay. All right. Now, with all of that said, what does it actually look like? I think our objective is still the same. We still want to be able to meet people. We might do it on Zoom. I'm not saying you got to fly out to Bangladesh, but we still need to meet people, even if it's on Zoom. That's fine. I'm fine
Mhm.
with that. Okay. So, what's that conversation look like? Let's say I meet somebody online, and so like one of the things I do on LinkedIn. Now, this is me. This might not work for everybody, but like one of the things that I like to do is, and this also works for entrepreneurs as well, where if I'm just trying to develop a rapport with people that I met on LinkedIn, I'll ask them, hey, do you do any networking? Like, do you do any networking either online or offline? That's my question. That's my question. Okay. They'll come back and be like, hey, yeah, some of them come back and be like, yeah, I do or I don't. Right. Most of them come back and they say, I do. As a matter of fact, I do. And I say, oh, okay, well, great. I do a lot too. And what do you say we, get on the call, do a little networking real quick, just as a chance to get to know each other? That works. Now
Hmm.
you can tweak that for your situation, but that's worked.
Yeah,
Okay. LinkedIn specifically. So
yeah.
I don't a couple things. I don't try to get too fancy,
Uh-huh.
and I do, excuse me. So I don't try to get fancy, and I do try to get people in person,
Hmm.
whether it's physical or on Zoom, because I think that's where you win games. But looking at LinkedIn specifically as a mechanism, this huge funnel, and then trying to distill it down into a mechanism that you can actually use and meet with people. That's how I've been approaching my networking online.
Okay. I am going to show people a tool on Callings for how to figure out who they could get in touch with
I
and
agree with that.
what to say.
Yeah,
You can also, I am going to show people too that commenting on people's LinkedIn posts. I
yeah,
mean,
you mentioned
you
that.
might see 100 or 200 likes on someone's
Right.
post and two
Yeah,
comments.
right.
And when you comment on someone's post, that person gets a notification about you.
That's right.
You can start the conversation. Okay, the last thing I wanted to talk about was maybe if you can give people just a way to begin. So a networking habit this week. So if everyone watching could do one thing tomorrow that would, pay off in 6 months or a year down the road, what could it be?
Okay, so I would think of a couple things because the first one really does make a difference. You have to get into the right mindset. All right, because I can't give you a skill set point without having a foundational component of mindset. So I need you to be in the right mindset. I need you to understand that this is just part of the process. I need you to understand that this is not personal. I need you to understand that it's something that you're building relationships and it works. I need you to be in the right mindset. Okay, so that's a preceding condition. Now, once we get that right, then we can get the skill set. What's one thing? I would be taking a look at number one. I would be taking a look at, like you said with Callings, I would be taking a look at some of the places that you can network. Like I would be doing that. Okay. And then number two is I would look at my calendar with those places, geographic and stuff like that. And I would be like, all right, let me put this down and do some of the different things that I can do to be successful. You know what I mean? To be able to do that. And then number three, and this will be the last one, if you want a roadmap and you like some of the things I had to say, feel free to pick up a copy of my book if you want. If you don't, that's fine. But we have a copy of the book available. It comes with a 30-minute consult. You're going to drop the link down. I know you're going to talk a little bit about that as well. So being able to have some of those things, which essentially is the right mindset preceding factor, going on to Callings and finding these right places, getting into action and making sure you put it on your calendar. And then from there, maybe taking a look at some resources that can create a game plan. My book might be one of them. Take a look at those three things. That's something that you can absolutely do in the next day or two, and will set you up for success as you move forward.
Great. Yeah, getting in the right mindset. Stop looking at this as in terms of metrics and saying, if I don't have 5 business cards, I'm not successful. Yeah.
Right.
Focus on relationships, which are in a long term. Brian, can you post the link for your consult? Because I don't know what I did with it, but basically, if for people today, if you're an entrepreneur and you want to read Brian's book and spend 30 minutes with him, it's only $49. So he's giving everybody here today a good deal.
I don't have that with me.
Okay, I'll look it up. I'll also post my email address. So if people want to have a follow-up call on calling specifically, I will invite you to one of those where we can slow down and go through the tools, and that's free. So $49 for the book and a consult with Brian. I'll post that link. And for Callings, we'll also post this again, but the link is Callings.ai/Brian. We'll get you 30 days access to all the tools I'm about to go through. But before I do that, I just want to sum up and say thank you, Brian. And there's 3 things I wrote down that you talked.
No problem.
Besides getting in the right mindset. So that's 4.
Right.
The 3 things are that relationships are what create opportunities. So AI can help you learn about the problems or about the people, but only those relationships can help you learn about people, the issues that can turn into consultancies, or that can help you get a referral from someone. There are people. The second thing I wrote down, relationships improve well-being. So we didn't really talk about that, but I know there's a lot of people in the world who are lonely and discouraged and networking. And you put so much emphasis on this in our first call, because you said, I don't want to talk about online. I want to talk about in person. That networking gets you out of the house, away from the screen, into conversations, and reconnects you with community.
That's right.
We talked about this even in a place like Mexico when you were there for a few months, about how often you left the house. Just walking places and having conversations. And even if a conversation today doesn't lead to a job, it often leads to encouragement and another connection. And then the third thing I wrote down, actually this you reminded me of, but it's something that Lou Adler, who did our webinar last month and then another one 3 months ago, taught me, which is that curiosity is a superpower. That most people think about networking as having the perfect pitch, but really it's not. It's networkers are people who are curious, the people who want to learn and ask questions. So those are my main points that I got out of today. And I'm going to spend a few minutes now talking about showing people the platform for Callings. And don't let me forget to post in the chat the link to your book and the session with you, and then also Callings.ai/Brian. But let me right now my screen and make sure that people can see my. Okay,
there we go.
Can people see Callings right now?
We can.
Okay, so I'm going to divide this into 3 main points. Callings is a complete comprehensive platform for your job search that uses AI tools. I am not going to show you everything that we do. I'm going to show you three things. It's sort of like my Apple Watch. I use it to track my steps, my activities, and the time. That's what I'm going to divide it into today. So the main thing I'm going to focus on is the networking tools, because that's what we're talking about today. But before that, you have to know, in order to figure out where to network, who to network with, you got to know yourself. So the first thing that Callings does is help you get to know yourself. And that's here on the toolbar on the left. Is you can go through it from top to bottom. It's pretty logical. So under my insights, you'll see in Callings a questionnaire designed specifically for you. And it'll be based on, you'll put your resume in the system when you sign up for an account, and it's going to ask you questions about you and the kind of work that you've done. So for me, since I had spent a quarter of a century in recruiting, it asked me things like, do you want to be on the outside of an organization affecting a lot of organizations, or do you want to be on the inside helping one organization? I said one. It said, do you want to be doing the work of a recruiter, or do you want to be advising other recruiters and hiring managers more broadly? I said the latter. So once you answer all those questions, you're going to get a few things from the system. The coolest thing that I got was an ideal job description. So this was a way for the system to reflect back to me, what do I want to spend my time doing? It even made up the name of an organization. It gave me a job at Global Health Innovators, mission-driven organization that helps people in 50 countries and all this stuff. The important thing to pay attention to here, though, was the responsibilities. So what it said to me was, you want to spend your time helping incorporate AI and tech tools, developing a broad strategy, doing employer branding. So this showed me that it understood me. Once you do that, you'll also see your goals. What is it that's important to you? For me, it's more about the role and the industry than it is about the compensation and the social impact, for instance. So yours are going to be different. And then the third thing that I wanted to show you about this is the market fit report. So this is where the system identifies growing industries and companies within those industries that can tap your marketable skills and the things that you are good at doing and like doing. So for me, because I had come from global health and development, where I had spent a quarter of a century, and after Doge, it decimated the industry. And so I had to completely pivot and look at new industries that are growing. So for me, it said HR technology might be a place to go, tech companies, digital health and health AI companies, and government contractors, it said. And within those, it suggested companies. So you see that. So this helped me with my statement of, well, what do you do when I go to a conference? And I say, well, I help growing health technology companies. That helped me with this. It also helped me figure out what companies and specifically might I want to work for. It gave me suggestions here. And within those, you can add them to right there. Just by clicking that button, it goes into your target company list. And then it will identify people for you to network within those companies. So you can see that here. Company fit report. One of the companies it recommended for me was called Abridge. A digital health company. Can read all about the company here. And then you go under this networking tab, and it gives me the kinds of people who are most likely to hire me at that company. So when you're trying to figure out how to focus, this is a great way for you to do that. Again, it's not going to replace the relationship, but it's going to help you get started to create one. So it identified Eric Bustamante here at this company that I might want to talk to. And then you can read here about Eric and what you might have in common with him, where he's worked. And when you hit reach out, it even comes up with a suggested email. You can change it by saying, we met at a SHRM conference. And that's an industry conference that I went to not too long ago. This isn't true. I'm just making it up to show you, but it'll incorporate that into a suggested email for Eric. So you go under here under open draft email, and it'll even give you Eric's email address. So this is, I can tell you, this is unprecedented. Like nothing else that I've seen platforms out there will give you people's email addresses. It also gives you their LinkedIn address. In this case, I'm not going to write to either of them. I just wanted to show you that. So that's one way to identify who it is you're going to be focused on networking with. I'm going to show you now the second set of tools here, networking tools. The first one is events. So you can't go to everything. How are you going to focus? You go under this networking tab here and you click events, and it's going to identify things that are preferably in person. Some of them will be online. Some of them are going to be focused on my industry. So health, technology, health companies. Some of them are going to be career events. So you'll see right now the Internal Conference on Clinical Medicine. So that's something in Washington, D.C. it identified for me. Here's a career event, a meetup for creators, professionals, and entrepreneurs near me. So it came up with all of these events, some of them online, a lot of them in person, right? And then you can also go to the recruiters to figure out people to network with who recruit, in my case, recruiters who recruit recruiters or recruit specifically in healthcare technology companies. So this is, you can network with these people. And again, if you click reach out, it'll give you a suggested pitch and the kinds of things that you might have in common. Okay. I only have one screen, so I have to move myself out of the way in order to minimize this. Okay. The third thing that I wanted to point out is associations. So Brian and I talked about industry conferences. Sometimes you're not even sure what kinds of associations, if I'm pivoting industries, what might I want to go to? So this button here will identify associations, some of them formal, some of them informal. In my case, for global health and development or health technology companies and recruiting. So here's one on just recruiting in Washington, D.C. And it gives you, information about what it is, who might want to join, why do you want to join, why might you not want to join, and you can put notes in here. The second one here is called the American Society for Health and Human Resources Administrators. Okay, so I didn't read this, but you can visit it more by clicking on the visit button. All right, so those are things to go to that are related to your job search. Industry events, conferences, associations to join. And then there's two other things that I want to show you. We only have about 5 minutes, but one is community support and the other is coffee meetups. So community support is a way for you to get help from other people who are part of Callings. So you can ask questions here and somebody will respond. I can help, and then you get the answer. There's also coffee meetups. If you want to practice just, discussing your job search, it's frustrating that you always get to the interview stage, you never get an offer. Or you want to go through this process with someone else and meet once a month or once every 2 months, you can fill this out and we will match you with somebody who says they want the same thing you do. You don't get each other's email addresses until there's a match. So that's another thing. So I talked about, okay, how do you get to know yourself and what it is that you want? Once you do know what you want, what are some tools that can help you identify people to network with and organizations to find out about events? And now I'm going to talk about actual applications themselves. So the way Callings does that is through this tool here called the job tracker. This is sort of like my ground control, right? This is where I keep organized about the jobs that I've applied for. You can add jobs manually by pasting in a URL, or you can get them sent to you. Once you have an account, you'll get this through your email, but you can also click this and you can fill out in layperson's English, what are you looking for? So I said, a senior talent acquisition position in a health technology company. And I said, companies working globally or in multiple countries preferred. And then every couple of days, I get jobs this way. And I can save them to my tracker by clicking save, or I can say, no, I'm not really that interested in that, and you can hide it. And the system is learning your preferences through the ones that you click hide, that you get off your screen. So that just click save, and then it goes onto your tracker. And then right here, I just added them. You can then use your tracker to apply for the jobs this way. So you click on the job, and you can learn all about the organization, all about if this takes too long, I'm going to go to another job, but you can learn about their Glassdoor ratings. You can learn all about those kinds of things. They even tell you when it's delisted. So in this case, this job at Emory Healthcare was taken off their website, so it probably doesn't exist anymore. So when you go under prepare, it's going to generate a resume for you based on the resume that you have saved in the system and a suggested cover letter. I never recommend that people take these and apply. Take the time to download it and to edit it. You can click edit and edit it right here in the system. You can tell it to change it in certain ways, but take the time so that it's you and you feel like it's authentic. When you click on network, you're also going to get people, just like in the other example that I showed you, who are associated with this very job, right? So you can reach out to them if you're both part of the same organization, you went to the same college, you're building a relationship maybe because you're interested in, even if there's not a job now, you might be interested in working with them in the future. We also help you prepare for an interview. There's an interview plan that will come up here with suggested topics, things to think about if you get to the interview stage. So I showed you how Callings can help you better understand yourself, find job opportunities, network and connect with people. And in the last 2 minutes, I'm going to show you something called how to promote yourself and become more visible. So this is something, networking online is about relationships, but you also have to become visible nowadays. So many resumes look alike, and you don't want to rely just exclusively on applying through the websites. So we've got these new tools to promote yourself called My Campaign and My Posts. And right here, I'm going to show you My Campaign. And that is a way to describe you professionally in a way other than a resume. So it's more creative. In my case, it came up with an action figure, and it called me a global talent matchmaker. It wrote here, help Laura find her next talent acquisition job. A little bit about me, key highlights, and my resume here. And you can post this directly on your LinkedIn page. You can ask for introductions. People can visit the page and then like it. They can send it to other people. This is just a creative way to sum you up. That's not your resume. And then the very last thing that I wanted to show you, I talk about becoming more visible, is my posts. This is especially relevant for people who want to pivot. So people are looking to hire people who are part of, I don't want to say the old boys network, but part of the industry. And if you're looking to move into a new industry, particularly if you're mid-career or later, it can be pretty tricky, right? You haven't worked for some of the competitors. So we had an example of somebody who came from CARE, a global humanitarian organization where I used to work, who lost his job. A lot of us did. We got laid off when the industry collapsed. And he wants to go into a whole new area of reducing food waste at an agricultural company. And so he's never worked for one before. So he started using my posts to come up with suggested themes of the kinds of things he can write about, and then to draft posts on those themes. So you click this. If I want to write about people who are career pivoting or recruiting tools, you can click it and you can get suggested posts that you can then, I'll show you an example here. You can edit them. You can write them from scratch. Oh, it didn't populate here. And you can post them on your LinkedIn. So this is what he did, was he developed some posts with the help of these tools. Then he posted them on LinkedIn. And then he reached out to people from the kinds of companies he wants to work for. And he said, here's a post of mine about this very topic. I know you've also written on this topic. Can we spend 15 minutes discussing it? So that was a way for him to offer value to someone else and also frame himself as an industry expert and not somebody who's just a job seeker looking to break in. So those are some things I wanted to show about Callings. Like I said, it's becoming a very comprehensive, broad, huge platform. And so I just wanted to zoom in on a few particular things. But we only have a couple of minutes. I'm going to stay on another 10 to answer people's questions. But Brian, I was hoping you could give us the last word and sum up the main things that people need to keep in mind when it comes to networking, because there's a lot of intimidated people out there.
Absolutely. So I went off camera a little bit. If you go on your inbox, you'll see that I shot you over the link.
Terrific.
So if you
Yeah,
could drop that in while
yeah.
we're here, that would be awesome. But yeah, so I think, when you're talking about networking, at the end of the day, it's kind of like what we've initially said, which is you want to make sure that you have a game plan, right? You want to make sure that you have the right mindset. You want to make sure that you're leveraging some of the different tools and things like that that you can to be successful. Okay, we've talked about all these things. And then you just got to be able to, trust the process. Um, Being able to say, all right, well, I know, I'm going to be getting a job. I know that I'm going to be successful. I know that this is going to happen. I know all of these different things are going to come up, right? I know that that's going to be the case. And just having confidence in the fact that you can be able to do that, and ultimately be able to do some of the different things, and being successful. And I just saw that last one in terms of the follow up. Yes, you want to make sure that you are continuing to follow up with people. How you would follow up, we've touched on that a little bit. I'll say it again real quick. If you have a chance and you've talked with somebody already, you want to be able to make sure that they feel that there's something to talk about. So I try to set up my follow up at the event itself, right? Where I'm
Mm,
talking to
how do
people
you
and
do
I'm
that?
engaging. Yeah. Well, being able to, one of the points is being able to talk with them and be like, um, you know, can we talk more about this? So I'm setting it up. I'm setting up the next call. I'm saying, hey, can we talk more about this? Can we do some of this? Those kinds of things. But yeah, that's kind of what it is that I do. And to be able to, the book, by the way, is Networking Like a Pro, that you'll be able to see going out there.
Which I
And we've
stole
got
that for the title of today's webinar, but
no, that's fine. That's fine. To be able to do that, and Laura just dropped a link down for us. So, but that's what it is. I'm setting up the follow up during the conversations.
Mhm.
Okay,
Great.
and I'm saying, hey, here's let's talk more about this, and let's be able to take a look at what that looks like.
That's great. So then when you follow up with people, you refer to meeting them
The
at the conference,
conversation.
and
Yep,
it's not a
that's
surprise.
exactly right.
I
That's
just
exactly.
pasted in, thank you. I just pasted in a link if you want to spend, I mean, this is an incredible deal, $50 to spend time with Brian and get his book, both networking, networking. And I also posted in there Callings.ai/Brian,
Yep,
which can get you
yep,
30 days free access to Callings and all the tools that we have.
yep. Yep.
Yep. So everybody in here has the ability to network like a pro, not just Brian. And I hope you got some valuable tips today on how to do that. Feel free to stay on if you have more
Okay.
questions. You can just keep posting them in the chat and we'll stay on for another, do you have like 10 more minutes, Brian? We can just stay
Yeah,
on.
I have a few more minutes.
Oh,
Absolutely, I can
I'm
do
going to
that.
go
That's
through
no
some of
problem.
these. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Feel free to post questions in the chat. I'm sorry that we can't let people share their screens, but we've had some problems in the past from that in their microphones. So questions in the chat. Thank you for attending, Cynthia. And all the people who attended in the evening.
Yeah.
Just lots of thank yous. But if people have specific
Okay.
questions, feel free to post those.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, if they don't have them, they don't have them, and if they do, they do.
Oh, tips for actors. Veronica, you should be giving us tips. You're the
Right.
professional. I mean, I don't know the acting profession, but certainly I would say networking is probably pretty important for finding out about opportunities, right? Those kinds of things are not posted on websites. Yeah, any tips on networking for actors, Brian?
I don't have a specific for that genre. I think though that falls under the entrepreneur or business owner and a contractor potentially
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
where you're
Maybe.
doing the same thing. You're going to dinners, you're meeting people. I don't know who hires actors. Is it the producers? I'm not sure. I don't know. But
Well,
whoever,
here's Veronica, one of our listeners said meet with the casting directors. Okay,
yeah,
so
there you go. I was gonna
Callings
say,
can help you identify who are the casting directors at the
yeah,
organizations that hire actors, and then how
yeah,
do you
good
get in front of
point.
those people? Yeah, what
That's a
kinds of
great point.
conferences and events they go to?
That's a
Yeah,
great point.
excellent. Oh, networking for shy people.
Yeah.
Ah,
So that is when you're doing that, it's understanding that you're talking to people who all want to be there for the same reason. Okay. And it's getting out of your own way for a little bit, quite frankly. You know, I talked about this earlier, where you have to be comfortable with the fact that everyone's there for the same reason. It's not a personal deal. And that you talk to the people that you talk to.
mhm,
And I also mentioned earlier that it's a conversation around growth, right?
mhm.
Like if I've talked about this and talked about this, if you want a great way to be unsuccessful, then just stay the same.
Yeah,
If you're the same today as you were 2 years ago, great. If you're the same
yeah,
today as you were 5 years ago, fantastic. Because you're exactly the same.
yeah,
The situation passes us by. Okay. But if you want to get better today than you were, or you want more, that's where people make the mistake. They want to move forward while staying the same. It's not how life
yeah,
works. If you want to
yeah,
move forward, you actually have to move forward.
yeah,
And when you move forward as a person, in terms of coming out of your shell a little bit, feeling more comfortable in yourself and who you can talk to, then guess what? You actually move forward, getting a job that you like, making more money, and not having to deal with all the financial challenges that maybe you're dealing with now.
yeah.
It's a very simple process.
Olivia asked about how much callings cost after the free period. So it's $30 a month, but you can save money by paying in advance for 6 months or a year. And through that link. So there was another question on here about shoot. I think it was back to the introverts question. I worry a lot about
Yep.
my value. So I would say for introverts, just stop working the room. Stop worrying about that and focus on one person. I will talk to one person because I
Right,
think introverts can actually have an advantage when it comes to networking because they're about being authentic and
right,
going deep. That curiosity and seeking to connect, really connect with people rather than
yep,
worrying about making a, a big sales pitch or something.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Edgar asked for an email. Please send me an email and share your thoughts. You can email me. Oh, I see. He's just asking for himself. Tips for educators who want to pivot into AI and education. Oh, Ram, this Callings can be a great tool for you. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, I would put your resume in. Once you put your resume in, answer the questionnaire about how you want to pivot, and then it'll suggest um, industries, events, and types of companies for you to think about. So there's a lot of opportunity there. Yeah. And I'm going to post one more time my email address. If people want to attend a follow-up session on callings, just the tools, going through it with somebody, I learn much better from a person than I do from an online video or from an instruction manual. So feel free to write to me and we'll schedule a time. Advice for moving from corporate to government. I'd say it's all about using the right parlance and getting connected to the right associations and industries and framing your job, your past jobs in the terms that government uses. So
Mm,
get suggestions on that from using the tools and callings too. That'll rewrite your resume using the relevant language in the industry you want to be in. Yeah. A lot of people are making pivots, Brian. It does seem to me
yeah,
that, I mean, it's kind of one of the nice things about America is you're not tied to the same thing forever, but I know some of it is out of necessity, like me. So it can be hard because you
yeah.
have to work for the competitors, right? And especially for mid-careerists, you know. Yeah, the link for the free trial to Collins, I'll post that one more time. Go. Julia, you should see it right there. And a replay of the webinar Anissa will come to you via email if you signed up on Eventbrite, which I think everybody did who's part of today. Yeah. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for your time. Thank you for spending some time with me. And this was fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yeah, good. We'll talk again.
Okay. Bye
All righty.
bye.
Have a good day.